ending. So and we call this slogan in Nepali is like Bal Vivah Ante ko lagi Maryadit Mahinibari. And as I repeat, a webinar on the link between menstrual discrimination and 16 days activism. And here we have two speakers, and I am Deepak Dhungel. I represent AIDS Healthcare Foundation Asia Bureau. Currently, I am working as a advocacy and marketing manager. I have experience related to social mobilization and partnership management in the past, and currently I am working representing Asia Bureau as an advocacy and marketing manager. And again, I would like to welcome you all. And to begin with, I would like to introduce with our speakers. First, I would highlight some brief bio about our speakers. First, I'll begin with Xia Jin. She is the Prevention and Testing Manager for AHF Asia Bureau. AHF stands for AIDS Healthcare Foundation. And Xia Jin is active in branding AHF, promoting more supportive environment for identification, prevention, treatment of HIV/AIDS, and lead the Girls Act program in our region. This is Asia Bureau, which includes 9 countries in this Asia Pacific region. She also conducted operational scientific research at the grassroots level with female sex workers and their clients, injecting drug users, former commercial plasma donors, men having sex with men, and HIV-infected individuals in China. Jin owns a PhD degree with the major of epidemiology and statistics, and had studied at University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. I would like to welcome Jin. Hi, Jin. You can just say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hello.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Now I would like to introduce our another very popular, none other than Radha Paudel. Yes. First, I would like to allow Radha to say hello to everybody, and I'll talk about her.
Namaste. Hello. Looking forward to speak with you.
Yes, she is a popular face, so that I don't need to introduce her more. But still, as a part of formal process, I would like to talk about Radha Paudel Foundation, which is led by Radha, and the informally started to work since 2016 and officially registered in 2017 under the government. That the registration number is 167502, which may not be required for you all, but also as per the local government protocol, it is also registered in the Social Welfare Council. And the vision of the Radha Paudel Foundation is emancipation for menstruators, for poverty, injustice, discrimination. To learn more about Radha Paudel Foundation, you can visit their website, radhapaudelfoundation.org, and same the Facebook page. This organization also has a Twitter account, and of course Instagram also. And this is not sufficient for Radha, in case if I talk about this. And there is another thing I would like to highlight here, and which is also a part, we are also part of it also, Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation. Its mission is to dismantle institutional, structural, interpersonal, and social progressive systems in place affecting menstruation, individuals who menstruate, and their ability to access basic inalienable human rights, critical resource to lead happy and healthy lives and obtain dignity, which is the ultimate goal. And we strive to unite organizations, and like we are also part of it, and individuals who share our vision of reclaiming dignity for everyone during menstruation, and aim to transform the menstruation movement to center dignity. To learn more about this coalition, you can also visit its website, dignifiedmenstruation.org, and you can find this coalition also in Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And since we also have Jin, so that I would like to also talk about the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. This is the largest global AIDS organization, currently provides medical care and or services to over 1.6 million clients in 45 countries worldwide, in US, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, and the Asia Pacific region, and Europe. And here, Jin is representing from Asia Pacific region, and which includes 9 countries, including Nepal. And to learn more about AHF, you can also visit its website, aidshealth.org, and you can find AHF at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram also. With this, I would like to welcome you all again, and without making any delay, since we wanted to talk, it's a kind of it's a webinar, so that I will be asking some very general questions. I'm not an expert, and thank you very much for Radha Paudel Foundation for allowing me to moderate. And if I do something wrong, you can correct me, because I am very afraid to speak in front of Radha and Jin. And to begin with, I will begin my question with the Jin. How do you introduce yourself? Though I have explained earlier, you can introduce yourself. Welcome, Jin.
Thank you, Deepak. Thanks for having me here, especially thanks to Radha and everyone from the Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation. And thanks to my dear colleague, Deepak from AHF. So since I'm also take care of the Goals Act program in AHF supported 9 countries in Asia, I'm really appreciated that I have a companion now. I can work together with the Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation. Now we can work together to expand our common mission to support for girls for dignified and healthy menstruation. Back to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Jin. And I also would like to request Radha to introduce herself.
Thank you, Deepak. You have already covered so many things in a very comprehensive manner. I also extend our sincere thanks and gratitude to AHF for partnering with us to amplify the voice of menstrual dignity to prevent HIV and so many other reproductive health issues. I began my career as an anesthetic assistant nurse in 1994, and I converted as an author and activist, and also founded a global network called Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation for changing the narratives around the menstruation globally. Thank you.
Wonderful, very short and sweet. And we have both, the very promising personality, beautiful ladies. Now I would like to again go back to Jin. My question to Jin is, why AHF started to work around menstruation? Please let us know if there is something inspiring moments or reason behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. For AHF, we started the Goals Act program, and one of the priorities is menstruation. What we are doing now is to ensure that young girls who are menstruation, they can stay in school, they can stay healthy, and not be shamed and stigmatized because of their periods. From some information I got from AHF, that menstrual stigma comes in many forms in different regions, different countries. Some countries even excluding young girls who are menstruating. We exclude them from everyday tasks like cooking, playing, and some of them are also not allowed to stay with their family members just because they are in their periods. And also it's estimated like 500 million people globally lack access to sufficient menstruation management and also the menstruation products. During the COVID time, the price for the menstruation products also increased. This should not be a financial burden for us. So what we are doing now is to support our girls to enjoy their menstruation time and tell them how to manage their menstruation health, and try to empower them to speak out based on their own requirements. That's what we have doing now. Back to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Jin, and love to learn about the reason behind it. And now it's turn to my question and goes to Radha. It's about why did you work on dignified menstruation? Because there are so many several issues. It's it must be very challenging work to work in, and isn't it? Kindly highlight the reason behind it and your experience about the challenges that you faced and the achievements by now you have made. Thank you, Radha.
Thank you, Deepak. Actually, it is a very long answer. I may take more time. First, I would like to thank you, AHF, for working on menstruation. As Deepak highlighted, it is a very challenging. No one like to talk about it, but it has a significant impact or connection while making the decision-making choices towards their bodies, particularly among the menstruators. Let me start from personal story. Exactly 40 years back, I knew menstruation as an impure, dirty, contaminated from my mother. And I was deeply traumatized and shocked. And at the meantime, I also observed various kind of restriction due to menstruation. For example, my 3 sisters and mother were not allowed to participate in social and cultural activities. They are not allowed to touch any men members. And then at the meantime, I also observed the violences, abuses, domination, suppression, oppression towards the women. My father was allowed without any reason to my mom. And I also observed same kind of status when I was working in the field or forest or at school. So I was thinking, because women are menstruating, that is why they are inferior, powerless, and they get low status and they consider inferior, powerless, disadvantaged everywhere. That was my understanding. And I did not like to live as a girl child because I felt so suffocated. So I attempted suicide when I was 9 years old. Unfortunately, I was failed. Fortunately, I'm speaking with you right now. The time passed by, and when I was about 14 years old, I had a first menstruation, and I revolted again. I questioned, I challenged to my mother and 3 sisters, and I did not do anything what my 3 sisters and mother were done during their menstruation. And later in next year, coincidentally I joined the nursing college, and I knew the essence of the menstruation. Because of the menstruation, this universe exists, and Deepak and all men are born because of the menstruation. No matter whether we have the invention for NASA or somewhere, is all possible because of the menstruation. So that kind of realization push me or inspire me to work on menstruation. But in the beginning, I thought that it was because of the poverty, because I grown up in a very poor family background. I thought my parents were not were never even been to school. They did not know anything. They don't have a money, and it's only the issue of my home in the beginning. But later, I knew that no, it was everywhere across the country. And later, when I had a thesis for my bachelor degree in nursing, my thesis was about the menstruation in Kathmandu. That time I knew the varieties of menstrual discrimination in different names, not only in Nepal, but also in Asia, Africa, even the Europe. The names, forms, and the magnitude vary from place to place, culture to culture, country to country. But the common is menstrual discrimination. Everywhere, the menstruation considered impure, dirty, contaminated, and that brings different kind of restriction, abuses, deprivation from resources, in not only food or water, but also the accessing with the health facilities or making decision for health-seeking behavior. And in the beginning, I worked in the hygiene. I worked on distributing on the menstrual pad. But when I go through the literature, when I was studying for my PhD, I knew that no, I am doing wrong thing. I have to go further, deeper level. So it is not about only the 5 days of the bleeding. It's about the throughout the life cycle. In global South, the sex-related abortion is very common, but in global North, the gender pay gap is very common. And if we go through the underlying cause is a menstrual discrimination, because women considered powerless, inferior, weak. They menstruate, that is why they have the mood swings, they have the different complaints, they have the babies. So this is how the women considered weak, the powerless, inferior, disadvantaged. That is why they are experiencing varieties of sexual and gender-based violence throughout the life cycle. So this is how we come up with the idea of the dignity. And at the meantime, we also see the practices from Australia, Canada, UK. For example, in Australia, out of 10, 8 girls did not like to tell that they have the menstruation, and while changing the menstrual pad, they either hide under the slips or under the bra, because they cannot say directly that they have a menstruation and they need to change the product. So this is how I knew that it has to go beyond the hygiene, beyond the product, beyond the infrastructure. It's all about the human right. If we believe on the human right, if we believe on gender equality, there is no way to miss the menstrual dignity. This is how I started to work. And as you know, Deepak, since we are from same country and for a few times we were together, we worked a lot on sexual and reproductive health. That means the adolescent health, prevention of HIV and AIDS, STIs, the cervical cancers, and family planning. To me, these all is possible, is successful if we have a dialogue on dignified menstruation, or if the girl have a confidence to her body, to her menstruation. If she can decide about her body, she can decide for the family planning, she can decide for the safe sex, she can decide for the emergency contraceptive or safe abortion, or other elements of the reproductive rights. This is how since 2019 we focus on dignified menstruation and try to understand its elements, how it impacts on politics, how it impacts in climate justice, how it impacts in agriculture, how it impacts on reproductive health rights. So this is how we are learning every day, and we are trying to educate and try to change the narratives around menstruation, SRHR, even HIV, child marriage, and gender-based violence. Thank you. I speak lots. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I think you covered so many things, and there are so many stories. I would rather say real stories that inspired so many people. And it is very sad that even you already said that even me, myself, I was born from my mom, and I was grown up at least for 9 months in her womb. And still it is sad that people not respect, not give dignity to her mom or her sisters or her any girls or ladies around them. And thank you very much for highlighting all these, which will be inspiring for many to amplify this campaign. And with this, I would like to go to the next round. I'm again going back to Jin. What are the key activities the AHF have been doing to advocate on dignified menstruation? Jin, it's your turn.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Deepak. Actually, I'm still immersed in Radha's sharing the impressive and inspiring thoughts and the sharing from your career. It's amazing, a lot of work you try. Okay, back to the question from Deepak. What AHF we are doing now to advocate on the dignified menstruation? we highlight menstruation health every year in our countries. We have two campaigns. One campaign is Menstrual Health Day in May. Every year we will celebrate this event, which was led and supported by Mr. Deepak. And for each of the year, we have different themes. For 2021, the theme was Amplify Her Voice. For this year, the theme was End the Stigma. So it's, it seems we have done the similar things because we think that this is a requirement in the things we should have done at this point. We did the same things with the Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation. So most of the activities we have done is we work with schools and we work with some organizations and related stakeholders to organize some event and advocate to stop the stigma on females who are in period. And we also to promote the gender equality in general. We also provide some training to menstruation health and also educate our girls to enhance their health, their personal hygiene, and also to provide some support as nutrition, travel education to some poor girls and also girls that are affected by HIV. We conduct all of things in our supported countries. One innovative and special activity we have done in 2021 was in HF Nepal. They support some training for females about the reusable sanitary pad making and its usage. We support some raw materials and some sewing machine for small scale production of the reusable pads. And the other event HF has done every year is the International Day of the Girl Day, which also led and supported by Deepak. So this year, HF also joined to celebrate this event with together with the South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation together this year. So this is what we have done through events. But for the Girls Act program, every month we will organize a series of activities, some group activities. One of the priority is menstruation. We will talk about menstruation. We will support the girls to more confident to talk about menstruation and communicate with their peers, how to manage during their menstruation, how to communicate and talk with their school teachers, with their family members, and how to protect and how to get sufficient sanitary pads during their period time. Yeah, we tried a lot for these. These are the main activities from HF. Back to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Jean, for highlighting all the work that AHF has been doing, and it's as I'm also part of it. And thank you very much for highlighting very key events. Though we are engaged more in HIV-related care, treatment, and advocacy, but we are also expanding our portfolio, and it's kind of happy moment for Jean and me, and including other members and including partners to also work with very critical issue like girls and women, which is includes the more than 50% of this globe. And but the reality is that the their voices are not being heard, and maybe even if we can contribute together a little bit in partnership with Radha, and we'll be more than with this. Also, I would like to go back to Radha. What kind of work do you see the best activities for working around dignified menstruation? Since you are leading this campaign globally, we would like to hear more about this from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Actually, it is very interesting to have a partner, the organization like AHF. in terms of the recognition of Global South Coalition, I would say like 60% people who are working around women empowerment and menstruation, they know us, but they hesitate to partner with us. In this connection, EHF partnership is a really a great blessing or honored to us and to the planet. Where the more than 50% population have been going through the menstruation. In that, I congratulate to AHF. Actually, if we go through the history of feminism, human rights since 1948, and development, the menstrual disease is a form of gender-based violence or violation of the human rights.
Maybe network is poor. Maybe to utilize the time, I'll go to back to Jin. Okay, Jin, can you please highlight about the global 16 days activism is approaching? What is the plan to mark it from AHF?
Because I had I'm disconnected. Sorry for that.
Okay, she's back. Okay, then hold on, Jin. Maybe Radha.
So by considering the history, we have to work in different to the local level, the individual, I would say. The always and until won't fight menstruation across activities or sectors, we cannot bring the gender equality. So that is why even be serious has to think differently. More than 50% of the population are not living in a dignified situation. So this is how the UN has to work on it. Likewise, the CEDAW committee, Convention for Elimination Discrimination Against Girls and Women committee, also never ever discuss about the menstrual discrimination and its impact, systemic and symptomatic impact. So CEDAW committee has to reconsider its mandate, right? Like the Convention of Child Rights, history of child rights, they have been talking a lot.
I think Radha, you have.
Very sorry, when we had a situation, and today we had a same. It's a very
No.
sorry.
No worry. This is third world, and even this problem exists in US. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Let me back to my talk. Actually, I'm trying to explaining about the ICPT conference. When we started talk about the sexual and reproductive rights, and since then WHO put a priority for the SRHR and developed so many strategies. Unfortunately, menstrual discrimination again missed out. We superficially talk about the anatomy and physiology of the reproductive organs, reproductive disease, more focus on the medical aspect, but we don't focus on the social, political, economical aspect, which is created by the menstrual perception and practices all around the globe. And later in 2015, when the global community or UN adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, if you go in a micro level, almost all SDGs directly connected with the menstrual discrimination, but more specifically 9 goals significantly connected with the menstrual discrimination. Without addressing, without dismantle the menstrual discrimination, we cannot achieve the sustainable development goals. For example, reduce the poverty or hunger. The many cultures started from Ghana, Chile, Nepal, Bangladesh, or Philippines. During menstruation, menstruators not allowed to harvest the food, not allowed to touch the fruits, not allowed to use the seeds, not allowed to enter in the kitchen when they feel hungry, not allowed to toss the source of water in Ghana. So we don't think, we don't analyze in that deeper level. So in some extent, we need to learn from our past. This is missing, and this is the very high time we have to work on it. This is how first and foremost UN has to work on it without any condition, without any delay. And we have been urging, we have been appealing to UN General Secretary to endorse the 8th December as a 14th day of 16 days activism since beginning. And again, I like to reiterate it again. And in top of that, in alignment with the UN, the donors, the academia also are not ready to work on menstrual dignity. Yesterday, we had a talk from UK. There was one conference, and I was speaking as an inaugural keynote speaker. And then they were so dispersed. They were talking about the gender-based violence, is a cross intersection with the menstrual discrimination, and they just talk about only the product. Product is very important. We need to educate our menstruators how we can produce the product at our local context, what would be the quality product, and how should we use, and what should we take care after the use, because it has a significant impact on the environment, the climate justice. So there are so many things, but if we are thinking in a linear way, if we are not acknowledging the complexity of the menstrual discrimination, multifaceted nature of the menstrual discrimination, again we are doing the mistake, we are repeating the mistakes. So academia and donor also have to rethink, re-strategize their strategies, whatever they have been working in any kind of area. If they are working for the agriculture, the 70% workforce are women, and they menstruate. They have gone through the perimenopause and menopause, and they struggle a lot. If any organization working for the girls' education, we need to work on the dignified menstruation. It's not only about the pad or the toilet. Because of the stigma, because of the sinus, because of the undignified condition at home, at the school, at the community, they interrupted for 5 days, additional burden, additional mental torture. And that kind of mental status torture, we are not recognizing is a barrier for emotional health, for mental health, or for education, or for the quality life. So this is how it has a connection with the multiple layers in all sectors. That is why the donors and the academia has to rethink about it, and likewise the governments has to seriously take. If the governments are really committed for the gender equality, if the governments are really committed for the human rights, they have to think differently. For example, in Nepal, the government has a very good, outstanding child marriage strategy, and which is the first in South Asia, including the constitution. Our constitution is a more gender responsive and outstanding constitution in South Asia. But unfortunately, we never ever talk about the menstrual discrimination. In the constitution, we say right to dignity, right to freedom, right to equality, right to health, right to education, right to environment, right to women's health. But we never ever talk about the menstrual discrimination or dignified menstruation in our policies, laws, and acts. The Child Marriage Act don't talk at all. And we have the National Commission for the Child Right recently, and then we have so many organizations, not only in Nepal, globally, working for the child rights, and they never ever talk about the menstrual dignity. And without empowering our children, without acknowledging the boys that they born with their pure menstrual blood, how could we reduce the sexual and gender-based violence, or sexual abuse, or sexual advances, or prevent the child marriage, or prevent the HIV/AIDS, or other programs like how could we increase the contraceptive prevalence rate? So we need to think very differently. This is a very high time. We don't have an excuse, because we are living in a 2022, and we have science and technology. When we start our conversation through the Facebook Live, in nanosecond, the global community have already know about us, and that is why we should not wait for the generation. We should not have any excuses to redefine our mindset, our activities, our strategies, started from individual level to the UN level.
Wow. Thank you very much for all the inspiring things that maybe all the audiences and maybe those who will watch this later also get inspired and support this campaign. And as both of you highlighted the things about kind of work that you see the best activities for working around dignified menstruation. This is well noted, and hope we can achieve more. And again, since time is moving fast, I would like to remind both our speakers to be so succinct to explain about the upcoming, to answer the questions that I'm going to ask now onwards. Now, I would like to go to Jin. Though you've already started explaining about the 16 days activism, kindly highlight about this. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deepak. As just mentioned, this is the first year that AHF joined together with Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation to conduct a series of activities, some webinars as today, and a media release, and some, and we will have a main event on December 8th. Please do join us to advocate for the dignified menstruation and end the stigma related to the menstruation. So for detailed activities, since Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation is main organizer, I will leave it to Radha, since I also learned a lot from this webinar from Radha and also your organization. How much you have tried is really encouraging for us. So I will leave it to Radha. Please share more. I also want to learn more from you about this.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Again, both, I mean, the Radha is requested to highlight the 16-day is activism, which is approaching soon. That will start from 25th. And what is the plan to mark it? Could you please highlight briefly?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Let me start from the essence of the 16 days activism. I wish we could celebrate every moment as a dignified menstruation moment. Practically, it is not possible. We are surrounded with so many issues at the same time. That is why we need to pick up the date. 16 days activism started in 1991 by the group of activists. And later in 2003, the UN adopted as a UN day as well. So globally, those who are working around HR, women empowerment, gender-based violence, child rights, disability, HIV/AIDS, democracy, human rights, they have been marking the 16 days activism. And since 2019, we started, along with the Nepal government, Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizen, we started to mark the 8th December as a International Dignified Mission Day. The first year, we had a few countries who were in a steering committee of Global South Coalition. And that was the beginning day. And in second year, in 2020, we organized 3 days international workshop where 70 organizations participated all around the globe. And we concluded a 12 points declaration for call for action, and also released the book called Dignified Menstruation, a Practical Handbook. Why did we choose that day is very important. As we already discussed, during the menstruation, symptomatically, the menstruator has been experiencing different kinds of sexual and gender-based violence. For example, if the girl not allowed to enter in the kitchen or not allowed to enter in the field to harvest the fruits, so where is her dignity? Where is her freedom? Where is her mental health? Where is her right to mobility or participation? So during the menstruation, one menstruator followed dozens of restrictions, dozens of abuses, dozens of deprivation. And from one restriction, there are dozens of human rights violations are constantly violating. So if we calculate the cost, the number of the violation of the human rights, we cannot calculate. But we consider it as a tradition, as a culture, and we don't question about that. So by considering the magnitude, the gravity of the menstrual discrimination, it is a form of sexual and gender-based violence, without any doubt. And in the meantime, the menstrual discrimination is not only the sexual and gender-based violence, it also cause an effect for various types of sexual and gender-based violence. For example, child marriage. She could not do many things as she has been doing for 25 days in a month, and her education, her learning is interrupted. And in school, if there is no infrastructure, additionally her learning is interrupted, mentally, physically, socially, and then she start to remain absent in a class and fail in a class, and gradually she drop out from the school, and then she trapped on the child marriage, and she is vulnerable for the other kind of diseases like HIV. Who make the decision for the safe sex or having sex or remain absent and who would make her choices? Who could decide her self-determination? So that kind of things is very, very important. And these kind of scenarios are the violation of the human rights. So December month is considered as a month of the human rights. That is why we picked up the 8th December. And the menstrual discrimination is a form of sexual and gender-based violence. That is why we picked the 16 days activism, because events clearly said that let's unite for the campaign to increase the awareness, to galvanize the advocacy efforts, share the knowledge and innovation to prevent the sexual and gender-based violence and promote the human rights. So if the even believe on that, the December 8th is very genuine, and we all had to celebrate as an International Dignified Menstruation Day. And since, as I said earlier, since beginning of our human rights discourse, or CEDAW, especially CEDAW is considered the first international women's human rights document, we never ever talk about it. And that is why this is a very, very important and urgent to talk about it. And if you go through the 16 days, starting from 25 days to December 10, every day has a significant connection with the 16 days activism. For example, November 25th. November 25th is the day for the assassination of 3 sisters, Miraval sisters, by their dictator during that time in 1960. And they started to celebrate, few activists start to commemorate that day since 1981. And why it was happened? Why 3 sisters were killed by the government? Because they were dominated. They were not allowed to speak. And this is how we started in the 25th day. And that day is considered symptomatic and systemic discrimination, that link with the menstrual discrimination again. Even today, we are facing that much menstrual discrimination. And you can imagine in 1960s, how much they oppressed. So if you see the December 8th, HIV/AIDS, it has a significant connection. December 3rd, person with the disabilities. The dignified menstruation is very, very important to the menstruators with the disabilities. They are suffering additional layers of discrimination. They experience additional layer of the discrimination. Till now, globally, there are very limited information available for the person with the disability, menstruators with the disability. And if you see, even in Australia, even in the US, they don't have much information. In many countries, even in Australia, a few years back, they had a permanent sterilization for the young adolescents, girls with a disability. See the impact. The right to children, right to marriage, and then right to dignity. And so this is how every day is connected with the 16 days activism, and it will end with the 10th December, which is the International Day for the Human Rights. So we start to talk about the human rights since November 25, and every day we celebrate it with the different activities. Anyone can do any kind of activities depending on their resources. No need to make the fancy program in 5-star hotels. They can just pick up the paper and write about the Dignified Menstruation Day or the HIV Day, and they can stand and then they post their photo through the social media. Anyway, they today millions of people have been using the social media. So there are so many ways, and we can do it, and we can make loud about the human right, about the gender-based violence. And at the end of the day, we wanted to prevent the all kind of sexual and gender-based violence and achieve the overarching goal of gender equality for peace and prosperity at the global level.
Wow. Thank you very much, Radha. Yeah, you explained well, and also relate the issue with the other gender-based violences, and this can be the entry point. And the question that I was going to ask I think is already answered. However, I would like to give you still one this opportunity to summarize the things, to explain about it. Maybe I will go to Jin. Why dignified menstruation is important to mark as a one day among out of 16 days activism, because we are planning to commemorate this day on December 8th, and can you please highlight why dignified menstruation is important to mark within this 16 days activism? Jin.
Thank you, Deepak. I completely with Radha. The menstruation is likely to be overlooked in some countries for a long time. We should make people have the awareness of this. The practitioners, the leaders, the experts, or teachers, family members, and the general public. It's the time that we need to take some actions to improve the menstruation among girls and young women. I think the 16-day activity is a great practice of this. That's all. Back to Deepak.
Wow, lovely.
Yeah.
Because not only this is not only the business of girls, women, and all those who are engaged in this moment. Every single woman, I mean the men, politicians, and all can contribute. And thank you, Jin.
Yeah.
And I would like to request Radha to add something on this same
Yeah,
question.
I totally agree with the Jin. Totally agree. Global South Coalition, along with the AHF, we will be conducting series of activities to mark the 8th December as an International Dignified Mission Day. For Nepal, for Nepali speakers, we have a Dignified Menstruation Campaign Nepal. It has been implementing across the country through the different volunteers networks and the individuals. And they have been doing so many activities at schools, through the social media, with the politicians, with the local government, and even the government also interested. I will be joining the province number 4, Gandaki province. They will be. They have already invited me to have a discussion on dignified menstruation. So government also a little bit serious in this regards. Beyond the Nepal, along with the AHF, we have been organizing the series of activities. It's called the pre-kicks activities to conclude at the day of the December 8th. In South America, the Mexico, Chile, Brazil has been organizing the activities. In North America, in Canada, and in USA, so many, I would say, like dozens of activities will be conducting during the month of the December, before the December 10th. And in Africa, there is a chapter, Dignified Mission Africa chapter. Yesterday, we had a meeting with the Sierra Leone, and then the Ghana, Kenya, Malawi. They have been doing so many activities over there. Though the Africa chapter is just emerging, and they more focus on the other issues, and they are gradually on board of dignified menstruation. And in Asia, AHF has a significant presence in Asia, and because of Deepak and Jin, so many friends have already started the work. I see in the Twitter and Facebook, they retweet our tweet message that gives the sense that we are together no matter where we are. And then in Sri Lanka, in South Asia, the Sri Lanka chapter Biluti conducting the one-day international conference, hybrid conference. And in Nepal, along with the AHF, Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation, will be organizing 2 hours global webinar where the friends from Mexico, Kenya, Sierra Leone, Uganda, Philippines, Cambodia, Nepal will be speaking. And then we also will have the press meet on November 25th, and we will officially release our dedicated song, Say No for Bad Touch, Say No for Child Marriage, say no for menstrual discrimination. That song will be officially released, and there are so many exciting moments will come, and hopefully people keep listening us, and they will mark that day whatever possible from their end. We don't need the money. We still Global South Coalition is still alive and smiling without having money. And anyone can do it if they have the passion and commitment towards the dignified menstruation. That's it, Deepak.
Wow, you are taking this movement to the next level even without any single penny. And congratulations and best wishes to all who are engaged in this 16 days activism and to for the successful event in coming days, and make necessary policy changes so that people there will be enabling environment for all girls and women who are our kids, sisters, mother, etc. And though, I mean, I would like to go to the next round, and we have 5 minutes left. And I would like to, though Radha already talked about challenges, and now again, maybe it was the past in initial days challenges, maybe considering current situation, what are the challenges that you face while working around the dignified menstruation? Maybe I'll begin with Jin. Do you feel any challenges while working on this field?
Thank you, Deepak. One challenge we faced here is our girls in Asia are still shy in some countries. One funny thing is when we worked in Cambodia, our Cambodia team distributed the sanitary pads at schools. The girls will hesitate to receive the sanitary pads from us because they were concerned about the teeth from the boys. Then we encouraged these boys to also to get some sanitary pads from us as a present for their mothers. So then from them, we try to design some targeted training and activities to improve this. We focused on some self-esteem, self-empowerment training and courses. We also supported for some life skill training, such as communication and conflict resolution. We also encourage them to talk about their personal hygiene challenges or questions related to their careers. Now we could see the improvement of this. Some girls already join even the policy level related speaking, such as the girl leaders in Thailand. And one positive thing is we also observed some boys also joined our girls' activities. There's nothing worth doing more than for girls. Back to you, Deepak.
Wow, thank you very much, Jean. And though with I mean it's you have already shared something good that you started, and since maybe every single organization has limitation with regard to resource and capacity, but symbolically we can respect, we can promote the girls and their rights, and that includes dignified menstruation. And thank you, Jean, for this. And I would like to ask same question to Radha.
Thank you, Deepak. Actually, I agree with Jean. I have been trying to reach out the friends from Asian region, and then we know that there is a practice of menstrual discrimination in a way and other around, but they are hesitant to talk about it. We reach out to the big organization who are working on the Asia Pacific region, but they always said this is the manufacturer issue, this is the pad issue, and they still not realize that this is the issue of the human right, this is the issue of the gender equality. So it's not only about the girls, it's about the donors, it's about the academia. They are not ready to open their eyes. I have so many stories from Asian region, like in Philippines, for example, while they have the first menstruation, they have to jump the steps. Based on the steps, the menstrual bleeding days determine. And then somewhere they have to use the menstrual blood on their face to reduce the bleeding. So there are so many kind of rumors myths associated with the menstruation. If there is a silence, the ignorance top of that, and then the people come up with a different kind of perception and practices with justification, and that justification is very dangerous, and that exists all around the globe, especially in the low income setting countries. So the one challenge is silence, the other is ignorance, the other one not acknowledging the gravity of the menstrual discrimination on gender-based violence and the human rights. These are the technical kind of challenges. But in other hand, if you see in my life, I don't know how do I alive. When I reflect the challenges I faced everything, including life-killing threat because I speak about the menstruation. And my colleagues, my friends who are working around the menstrual movement, working around human rights, working on the women's rights, working on child rights in Nepal and the abroad, they constantly blaming me and Global South Coalition that we are creating the confusion to the government and the media. Even yesterday, we had a little bit debate while we have the panel that organized from UK. And people still consider that menstrual dignity is a vague idea. And they don't like to act their individual life. That is why they agitate. They have the high resistance to speak about it. And people put blaming, pointing to the religious leaders. And based on my experience, that's not true. I worked varieties of the religious leaders in Nepal and outside. And just last June, I facilitated the 3 days conference on role of religious leaders on dignified menstruation. In the beginning, I was nervous, but later, the next day, there was an enlightening moment, and the religious leaders, both men and women, came to me, and then they hugged me, they kissed me, and they took a selfie with me, and they come up with the 14 points declaration. So we are agitated to have instead the dialogue, instead the talk at home, at school, at workplace, and everywhere, and we are blaming to here and there. So these kind of things are more challenges, and that is why we don't get the support in our history. AHF, I don't know how do AHF decide to partner to speak about the dignified mission. We don't have a word to express our gratitude and thanks to Loretta, to Deepak and Jean and the entire team of AHF. First time you have been working with us in the history of our Global South Coalition. We are working on zero funding. That is why we said we don't count the support to what AHF have been doing. If we calculate, it's just go the zero figure. We cannot come up with even 0.1. So that is why we said zero figure. And so it is happening because of the challenges. People are not acknowledging the urgency. And another challenge, the people, the activists, their stories are unheard, misinterpreted, misunderstanding, underestimated. If I were from the Europe or the North America, I should not wait for like 40 years. I should not struggle like 40 years. Unfortunately, I'm coming from the poor family background, poor country, and then no one listening, and it takes so long time. And there are these kind of challenges are important. If we don't need the money, we need the partnership, moral support. We need the friends to speak about the dignified menstruation and to mainstreaming the activities, mainstreaming the dignified mission, whatever they have, based on their expertise, based on their donor frame. That is why we said menstrual talk dignity first. If you are talking something about the menstruation, like menstrual cup or the pad or the health or education or hygiene, just start from the menstrual dignity. If we give the confidence to the girls, they will decide, they will challenge to their parents, they will challenge to their teachers. That's why we need to inject, like the COVID vaccine, we need to inject the masses of dignity. You burn because of the menstruation for boys, and for girls, this is the pure blood. Forget about anyone, religion, culture, parents, forget about it. This universe exists and moving because of the menstruation that you have coincidentally. That kind of message we have to disseminate indeed. Thank you. I speak a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Radha. You spoke so many things, but very interesting. And I also didn't remember that we have time limitation. But anyway, we crossed 4 minutes, 5 minutes,
Oh my goodness.
more than what we expected. But I would like to request you both to allow us to extend for additional 5 minutes, and we'll conclude accordingly. And thank you very much for all the acknowledgement that you said about AHF. Yes, for the good cause, whether we are together or we're living apart, I mean, the far, we can still contribute to make this happen. And we already talked about challenges and all other issues, and maybe let's talk about the future. How would you see the scope of dignified menstruation in future? Maybe I'll begin with Jin. Very briefly, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, whatever you like.
Thank you, Deepak. We are 14 girl leaders, and these girl leaders will empower our girls. They will support each other together with us. They will lead the changes that we would love to see in our society. The girls deserve a bright future, and they will have a bright future. Back to you.
Wow, that would be the very ideal solution. And
What happened? I think Deepak has a problem with the internet. Okay, let me continue. I do agree with the Jin. I totally agree. And the second, the future is so bright and we can do it, and so many things to do it. We are living in 2022. That is why dignified mission is a possible, and it is only one option to achieve the SDG, to prevent the gender-based violence, and to promote the ASR and promote human rights. This is the formula. And wherever, whatever you have been doing, please try to mark the Dignified Menstruation Day any day. No need to celebrate in December 8. If you have a program for the November 29, just incorporate into the November 29. And then the future is so bright, and we can make a gender equal and just full society if we have a dialogue on dignified mission at home, at school, at workplace, and everywhere.
thank you, Radha. We already covered so many things, and you highlighted so many things. Both of you, thank you very much. And before we conclude, I would like to allow both of you to speak very key words, key message to the community around the world. Maybe Jin.
Please do join us December 8 to empower the girls to stay healthy and have a bright future. Yeah.
I do agree with Jin. Please do join us, and please keep follow us as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, both speakers, and you did a wonderful job, and hope this will benefit our all the partners and the individuals who wanted to contribute for the good cause. And thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Recording done.